What do Peter Andre, the North Sea and Strictly Come Dancing have in common? It's the Wagatha Christie trial. In October 2019, Colleen Rooney famously claimed that Rebecca Vardy had gone onto her Instagram stories and sold stories to The Sun by viewing them and blocking everybody on her account, minus Rebecca Vardy. We've got two students here today who are going to give their sides of the cases, and they're both A-level law students. One's arguing for Colleen Rooney and one is arguing on the side of Rebecca Vardy. So first of all, Ray, you're going to be arguing on the side of Colleen Rooney. Why do you think Colleen is going to win this trial?
Because a defence for defamation is that the allegations, the statements were substantially true, and a lot of evidence points to the fact that these stories were leaked from her private Instagram account and they were viewed only by Rebecca Vardy. So if it means that someone else did it on her behalf, that's possible, but the statements themselves were substantially true.
Do you think Colleen could have done this in a different way? There are accusations from Vardy that she wasn't actively told in person before these stories were posted out on Colleen's Twitter and Instagram profile.
I do believe there could have been another way of doing it. I think they could have actually spoken out of court, but I also know that Rebecca Vardy was advised not to take this to court. And if there was an opportunity for them to speak privately, then that would have been the better option. But also in this day and age of like social media and everything, it's more likely that these things are going to come out over Twitter, over Instagram, because that's where it started. So yeah.
Do you think that the social media profiles have kind of pushed the case more towards people supporting Colleen Rooney?
I do, because of the influence that they have. Also because this is something that we are more likely to see more often because it's social media. Like that's become the big thing now. But I also think that if it was a smaller person, if it wasn't as in the limelight, they probably wouldn't have gotten that much attention.
And the next question I've got for you is a little bit about her agent. So Caroline Watt has been brought into this case and conveniently lost her phone in the North Sea a few days after she was told she was going to give it in for a forensic examination. Do you feel that Caroline Watt is involved in the case in any way? And if so, how?
I do think she's involved. I don't think she's the pioneer per se. I do think that it's a partnership between her and Vardy, mostly because of text messages that have been conveniently lost between the two of them, where they are more than just business partners, they are friends. So if one person decides to do something, the other person's most likely going to support it. Also because she's not in court, there's not that much, you can't talk, we can't speak to her, we can't get her side of the story. But I do think Vardy is as involved as Watt, and vice versa.
So Ray, I just want to say thank you so much for arguing that case there. Now you've got a tough challenge here, Shelby, arguing on the behalf of Rebecca Vardy. So what do you think makes Rebecca Vardy going to win this case? How do you think she's going to win it?
Well, Rebecca Vardy's taken this to court because it's a libel trial, which means that she has been falsely accused of leaking these Instagram stories from Colleen Rooney's personal Instagram. Caroline Watt also had access to her account, so yeah, there is a possible chance that Caroline Watt has leaked these Instagram stories, which would make Rebecca Vardy not guilty.
You've said about Caroline Watt having access to Rebecca Vardy's social media accounts. Personally, would you have somebody else access your social media account, or do you kind of feel like that's an error on Vardy's behalf?
Well, because she's a celebrity, I personally wouldn't, but because, like I said, she's a celebrity, a lot of celebrities do have other people to access their accounts and manage that so they don't have to. So it's completely reasonable for her to have Caroline Watt to access her account.
And a lot of celebrities have got on board on this case. I was reading some of the stories earlier today, and there's Stanley Johnson, so Boris Johnson's dad's even involved. There's other wags involved, including Danielle Lloyd and Christine Heskey as well. So what do you think that their influence will have on the overall case and on the behalf of Rebecca Vardy?
Well, it just kind of makes sense because celebrities are going to get involved with other celebrities so they can show their support in that, and so that they're not just these celebrities, they're actual people. So she's getting the support that she might need for being falsely accused of this case, and it's ruining her entire reputation. She's had multiple breakdowns on the stand. It's just completely ruining her life at the minute.
You would say as well there has been situations in the past where Vardy has actively sold stories and said that she's been coerced into doing this, particularly in relation to Peter Andre back in 2004, I believe. How do you feel that this has been? Do you feel like she's been coerced into selling these stories again?
Well, because of the messages of a WhatsApp with Caroline Watt, it does seem that she's being coerced into it again, because there have been multiple messages where Caroline's been saying, oh, I want to be paid for this, etc.
I'm here with Faye, who is the head of our A-level law course here at Wyke Sixth Form College. So Faye, how does this case link into the A-level law studies that our students do at Wyke Sixth Form College?
It's certainly an area of law that our A-level law students do look into, and they deal with civil disputes within the classroom environment. The fact that this case is so high profile, is so interesting, there's sort of twists and turns, it's really fantastic that Shelby and Ray have had the opportunity to be able to debate it, to research it, to look in the details, and then reach their own individual conclusions. And that's what they do. It mirrors the classroom environment really well.
I think something that's really appealed to me watching this case as a viewer is the fact that it's gone out on social media, and I think for a lot of students as well that'll be kind of the appeal. Do you think a lot more cases will come out on social media, and particularly these kinds of libel trials will be formed from social media debates?
Absolutely, it's sort of our society, and that's the way that things are heading and they're moving. I think it's fantastic that we've got a really modern and up-to-date case that students can study, because sometimes they can be a little bit old and a bit out of date. The fact that students understand and they relate to these social media issues that are cropping up in society every single day, it's great because it offers them context to their learning.
And do you think social media have a big impact on how we present laws in the future? Do you think laws will be impacted on how people post on their social media? There's been discussions about things like trolling and sexual abuse, racism and things like that online.
Absolutely. It is certainly being debated heavily in Parliament at the moment. There's a clear recognition in the law that it needs to change as society is changing, and people's attitudes towards this type of behaviour is obviously increasingly become, more of an issue in society. So yeah, it's definitely an area that I feel as the new specifications that students are examined on will, change and update hopefully in the future so students understand the context.
The final question I've got for you here is, whose side are you on? Are you on Team Colleen or Team Rebecca?
I can't possibly say.
Oh, come on. You must have an inkling of who you think it might be.
Yeah, it's impossible not to form an opinion on these cases, and it is fascinating. It's really very interesting. But from the perspective of libel and looking at it from the legal perspective, Colleen Rooney has obviously published information about Rebecca Vardy without having that kind of legal basis and the proof that she would be sort of required to sort of establish in the courtroom. So potentially, maybe a Vardy win.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And thank you very much again to Faye and all of our students. As we said earlier on, the results are going to be processed very, very soon. And we are going to look forward to those final results and see who is going to be charged with libel.